Hello, WPF! Here is Jolts giving you the C Division Power Ranking. I'm joined with Cynthia.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so
Hey.
we're doing this as follows. As you can see, we're still going to do the same scoring system that I've always used. So we rank you based on the total score based on 5 categories, which you can see here. So we're scoring you on offense, defense, speed, hazard control, and type coverage. Based on that, you should have a score between 0 and 100, and you'll see your score when it comes up on the screen. So first of all, I think all of the teams in C Division are actually looking pretty good. There's no team that I would say is straight up bad. Like, everybody has a chance, so no matter where you land on these scores, don't feel bad, because you all have a chance. Just prep well and play well. And I think with that, we can get into it. So first off, at the 18th place, unfortunately, we have Elvis Red of the UF4 Beatles. And so, what do you think of his team, Cynthia?
I'm surprised to see the Melmetal team in the last spot, I have to say.
Yeah, I know.
So, what I see is that it just doesn't stand out. There's a lot of fat mons and offensive mons, but nothing that stands out. It's just a very middling team.
Yeah, this team
not really anything super fast, not really anything super broken strong, except anything exceptionally bulky. It's just very middling.
Yeah, it is a super offensive team. You can check this. There's an 18 score for offense. Like, almost all of the mons hit hard. Like, there's Mega Gardevoir, Melmetal, and Hexaurus. In terms of a Fairy Dragon Steel core, that is about almost as strong as you can get. I mean, the Dragon could be a bit stronger, but still, it's an extremely offensive core. But then, it only has very average defense and not the best speed tiers. Like, its fastest mon here is Swallow at 125, and then it has something on 108.
Virizion.
Yeah, Virizion on 108. So those are like some of the lower tier, not the best mons at this highest speed tier. So it's definitely one of the team's weakness, and he has no way to control speed either. There's no Weber. There is potentially Trick Room Gardevoir, but you know, that's
Does
not.
Liger get Tailwind?
Yeah, I suppose you can try Tailwind. I think Swallow also gets Tailwind, but how
No, but
reliable is Tailwind really?
I highly doubt you would ever run Tailwind Swallow. Because it dies after one hit.
Yeah. But I think where the team lost its most points is the hazards. The hazard control. It only has 2 mons that can set up rocks in Gligar and Seismitoad. And, well, that's 3 defoggers, but some of those, one of them is Rotom Frost and one of them is Swallow, so, you know.
Yeah. Not a great team.
Yeah. When it comes
to it's just middling mons thrown together, really.
Yeah. So when it comes to the type coverage, the team has the biggest weakness to ice, like a very big weakness to ice, if you include Gligar.
Especially if you include Freeze Dry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that includes Seismitoad too. And its defense against that is Rotom Frost and Melmetal. I mean, Melmetal is good, but you don't want to always start...
Darmanitan.
Right, Darmanitan. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, both Darmanitan and Melmetal are super offensive mons. You don't want to always just tank hits with them. And, well, Rotom Frost is Rotom Frost. So, you know, it's not the team that likes to switch into a lot of Ice Beams.
Very little recovery as well.
Yeah.
The only recovery really being Gligar, with Roost, and Swallow, I think. Other than that, there's like no recovery. Not even a Wish Passer, apart from
Gardevoir.
Wish Passer,
right? Yeah.
So why would you use that?
Okay, then I think we got this one covered. You want to say anything else?
I think everything is just a very middling team that just doesn't stand out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they can still do well, especially like if you can get Melmetal in on the right mons, it will just kill something, you know, same with Gardevoir, but, you know, it has a lot of weaknesses that it's going to have to cover for, and that's what sets it back the most.
A team where only one mon really carries it is just not a good team. A good team is supposed to cover each other and make sure that every mon in the team has its place and has a point it uses. But this team just is randomly assigned mostly.
Yeah.
With barely any synergy or anything.
Yeah, I agree. Well, then let's move on to the next one, which is Sacred TD at its nice score of 69.
You forgot the team name?
Right, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Who cares about the team name when you have a score like that? That's all you're going to be looking at.
We should put in a number 1 just for that score.
I mean, it's a moral victory, if anything. Right. But the team is Zorora and Mega Kang, followed by Glyzabot, Lycanroc Dusk, Medicham, Swoobat, Celesteela, Gastrodon, Kyurem, Grimmsnarl, and Palossand. And again, this is a very offensive team.
I feel like most of the teams here in C Division are very offensively. I feel like there's barely any very bulky teams.
No, I think there's at least 2 or 3 more bulky teams that will get through, or that'll get through with Kai. But, oh yeah, by the way, halfway through, we're going to switch the other person, and Kai's going to take over for Cynthia. Forgot to mention that. We'll get there. It's fine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know this later on.
It's fine. Anyway. But yeah, there are some bulky teams. But looking at this team, there are some very powerful monsters. Zorora, Mega Kang, Lycanroc Dusk. I think Medicham is still pretty offensive even without the Mega.
Normal Medicham doesn't do that much I've used it a few times and it's very disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, it can still hit. I mean, if you give it a Life Orb or Choice Band, it straight up hits harder than Mega Medicham, but you know that.
When a Choice Band, a Bullet Punch from a Medicham can't even kill a weakened Fairy type or a Mammothvine, then that's really disappointing.
Yeah. But furthermore, the speed tiers is weird because it has one really fast mon in Zorora at 143. But then it has 114 in Swoobat and 112 in Lycanroc, and I think that's a big gap, and from there it only goes slower. It has 100 at Mega Kang, and the rest is just slower than that.
Yeah, essentially you just take out Zero Over, and then most of your team already outspeeds it, and Zero Over isn't the bulkiest one, so taking that out is really easy actually. Especially if you know the moveset and cover it well with the switches and such.
Yeah, I will say it has some really bulky mons as well. It just doesn't have enough. Like, it has Celesteela right there. Celesteela, Gastrodon, that's actually a pretty good defensive core. Like, they cover each other pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but besides that, those are almost its only... Like, that's Palossand too, but it's fairly bulky. Well, I guess Glyzabot counts as bulky, but there's no real...
Glyzabot has emergency exits. So
yeah.
It has spikes, though, at least.
Yeah, that's true. So then you have like only one, Palossand too. So only 2 months that actually have recovery. Like Celesteela has to rely on lead seeds, and I think Swoobat has Roost, I guess, but Swoobat cannot take any hit whatsoever.
Swoobat has Roost, Gastrodon, Palossand has
Gastrodon and Sand have recovery, but the rest doesn't.
Swoobat technically as well.
Yeah, like I said, Swoobat does not take a hit at all. So,
what would have been cool would have been a terrain setup for Seed Swoobat with Simple. That would have been a cool take to do. But
Seed Swoobat, okay, I like it.
Sadly.
Yeah.
I've seen terrain Swoobat many times. It's powerful because you get +2 defense, set up a Calm Mind that I have +2, and store power hits hard.
Yeah. But I think where the team is the worst, and it's very clear, is the hazard coverage. The hazard coverage is super subpar. It has 1 Spiker, 2 Stealth Rockers, but then it only has 1 Defogger, and it's Swoobat. That's it. That's straight up it. That's the only way he has to get rid of hazards, is Swoobat.
Well, good luck then.
Yeah, that... I mean... At this point, I would just recommend you free agent yourself a better defog or a better hazard remover, because this is just gonna come up time and time again every week. People know to bring hazard against you because it's very obvious how weak you are to it.
He's very grounded as well, with only Swoobat and Celesteela being off the ground.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you're not gonna bring Swoobat every week, right? I mean, at this point you might have to, but you don't want to. You never want to bring Swoobat every week.
I wish Kyurem would get defog, because I feel like it should get defog. I don't know.
I don't feel like we should make Kyurem better than it is. There's a reason Kyurem Black is already banned.
That's because of Dragon Dance.
Yeah, I know, but Theorem also gets Dragon Dance. I will say its coverage is fairly well. It has 15 out of 18 times and no major weakness. Like there's no like 4 months weak to the same types. I think the biggest weakness is maybe ground. No, it only has 2 months weak to ground. I don't see any big weakness at all. Do you?
Ice, I guess. Freeze Dry hits Subats, Gastrodon, and Palossand. Electric would hit Celesteela as well as Glycopod. But yeah, it is at least very decently balanced with the types.
Yeah, it did a good job spreading out its types.
It doesn't save you against the terror that is Stealth Rocks, though, because how many Pokemon resisted Gastrodon? Palossand? That's it? Question mark? That's not a good... Medicham may resist it as well, but...
Sorry, was this Wish move?
Wish, I think Kangaskhan gets Wish, but I don't know.
No Wish, yeah.
Also, who would run Wish Kangaskhan?
Right. So yeah...
Other than that, the only utility recovery he has is Leech Seed on Celesteela, and that's not really reliable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about covers it. So it's a very offensive team that has its types well spread out, but its hazards weigh it down so much. It's lack of hazard control, and that's why he's this low. He can still do well, but that's just a major weakness he's gonna have to overcome.
Yeah, I feel like this is gonna be a returning thing. Has good offense, but sucks at hazards. Has good offense, but sucks at hazard. I feel like that we're gonna say something like that every team we cover.
The higher we go, the less we'll say that. Let's just go with that. But on that note, let's move on to the next one. The Detroit Oblivion Wings by PokeFan, which has 72 points, which at least is a bit of a jump from the last person. And this is a very fast, very offensive team. With
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane to me that the Mega Lopunny team is so low. Mega Lopunny is always a terror for me, and even now with like CC, U-turn, and Play Rough, it's even more of a terror. I do not like facing Mega Lopunny.
I don't think anybody does, but let's see, there's Mega Lopunny, Alolan Ninetales, Salazzle, Mesprit, Ditto, Alolan Sandslash, Aegislash, Hydreigon, Manaphy, Lurantis, and Stunfisk. And
One thing as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
At first for me is fire. He's super weak to fire with not really anything that can reliably switch and encounter it apart from Manaphy.
Hydreigon.
Apart from Manaphy? Yeah, I guess, but
he has at least 3
you
resist
would have
to fire.
to run Surf or Earth Power every time to hit fire types and not lose to them, because almost his entire team is weak to fire, and that's not good.
And actually, if you look at it, there's only there's 4 months weak to fire. You're right. Yeah.
Alolan Ninetales, Alolan Sand.
Yeah, you're right.
Aegislash, Lurantis, and Ditto, depending on into what it transforms.
Right. Yeah, but we'll get to the one thing I do have to notice here. It's why does he use Hail with a Manaphy team? Manaphy wants to set up Rain, not Hail, and then I mean I see Alolan Ninetales. I like that it can set up Aurora Veil to allow Aegislash to set up more, or perhaps even Hydreigon. Like, he does have a few setup mons that like to stay behind screen, so I get Alolan Ninetales there. But why in combination with Manaphy? Manaphy hates the Hail.
I'm just gonna say that Aurora Veil Mega Lopunny is even more of a terror.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be killed by priority behind Auroraville, probably, but I feel like most things that kill Lopunny will likely still kill Lopunny behind the screens.
Don't underestimate Lopunny's bulk. Lopunny has a very decent bulk. In its original form, its bulk is actually higher than its attack stats, both being base 90. I know that. Mega Lopunny is not as frail as many think. It's actually decently bulky.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, okay, so I will give the team very much credit for just how scary it looks. This Mega Lopunny, Aegislash, Hydreigon, that trio right there is terrifying. Like,
yeah.
Imagine yourself looking against it, like, what do I have to cover all 3 of those? And you're probably not going to find it.
Well, a fairy would cover Hydreigon and Mega Lopunny already, but then you would get smashed by Aegislash. So a fairy fire type or fairy fire coverage in general would really decimate this team a lot.
Yeah,
so
I was gonna say there's no such thing as a fairy fire type, but
would be cool.
I know, right? But yeah, on that note, its defense is almost non-existent. I mean, they clearly have a hyper-offensive strategy here. I mean, Aegislash is bulky, on the first round, and other than that, it has Stunfisk is sort of bulky, and Menifee is a bit bulky, but it's not a defensive team at all. It's clearly a hyper-offensive team, and because of that, you see that it does not take hits well.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, well, to keep the trend going, it does not have the best hazard coverage. It has 3 Stealth Rockers as its only hazard. And then it has 2 Defoggers and a Spinner. So the Defoggers here are, I think, Hydreigon and... I'm missing... Lurantis, right. And the Spinner being Sandslash. Which is average but not great. The fact that it only has access to 1 type of hazards really makes this less powerful, I think.
Definitely.
Because the opponent will only have to take care of 1 type of hazard. Like if their team isn't too weak to rocks in general, then they can just... Yeah?
Actually, Alolan Sandslash got spikes with the DLC. I just remember.
Did it? Not just regular Sandslash did.
I'm pretty sure both got spikes.
Oh. Okay, well, I'm sorry then, Pokefan, that you probably have like one point more. I'm sorry. Take that with what you will. It's fine.
Shaking my head, uncoach, I don't know.
Hey, I do my best, okay? Jeez. Alright. But yeah, super offensive team, super scary team. It just, it's a bit anti-synergy with the Hail and Menifee and with the subpar mons beside the power 3, I would say. Then I think we can move on to the next one, being Restless Koala at 15, which is actually it's a tie with the previous one. So if we count spikes on Sandslash, it's actually lower. I'm sorry, but fine, whatever. Right, this team has Tapu Bulu, Cinderace, Metagross, Galarian Corsola, Komala, Liepard, Mega Ampharos, Nidoking, Tornadus, Milotic, and Phalanx. So if anybody was wondering if this is biased or not, know that it's not, because otherwise it would put a Mega Ampharos team way higher.
You know what's funny?
What?
This is the team where both of our favorite Pokemon are on, or at least one of my favorite Pokemon, because Mega Ampharos is on it and Milotic is on it. So I'm sad to let them alone, because I love Milotic. I absolutely adore it.
Yeah, see, we're unbiased. Yeah, but yeah.
Why did you draft such a bad team? Be better.
Oh man.
You don't deserve the beauty that is Milotic.
Nah, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, this team at least, like I said, it's very offensive, and all of its other scores are at least average. So I think it's a very, it does cover all its bases fairly well, and with that, and I have to say that none of the teams are bad. Like this is still, I think this is actually a pretty good team. It just, as we move up, I think all the other teams are just a bit better than this. And well, we'll explain why. Because Tapu Bulu, Cinderace, Mega Ampharos, Nidoking, Tornadus Eye are all very powerful mons. They're all very scary. They can all hit hard, pretty much.
I'm surprised that the defense is so low as well, because Bulu is decently bulky, Metagross is decently bulky, Galarian Corsola is only bulky and nothing else. Milotic is very bulky, Mega Ampharos can be decently bulky. Tornadus, I don't know, I never used Tornadus. And yeah, that's decent bulk for me actually, in my opinion.
Yeah, it looks that way, but the thing is, most of those, like you said, are fairly bulky. None of those are straight up walls, except for maybe Galarian Corsola, right? Like Milotic, I guess, can be a wall, but the other ones are at best bulky attackers. And they can take hits, but they're not super defensive mons, they're just bulky mons, you know?
Milotic!
Yeah, I mentioned Milotic. But so essentially it only has like 2 mons that are straight up defensive, and the rest is either bulky or not at all. Like, because it still has Cinderace there, it still has Liepard there, neither of those like to take hits.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Its speed is a bit underwhelming too. It has Cinderace at 119, Tornadus at 111, and then Liepard at 106. And from there, the fastest Mon is Nidoking. So there's no really fast Mon, and there's the speed tiers don't reach that high. The speed tiers are there's a pretty big gap too, from 106 to 85.
Does Metagross get Trick Room?
I think so. I don't know. Maybe not sure actually, because usually if they do like a weakness policy set, they run like agility or rock polish, right? They never do trick room weakness policy.
Because if it gets Trick Room, then this team can certainly pull off some powerful breakers with Mega Ampharos and such.
Yeah, Mega Ampharos and
Or Specs
Bulu
Milotic even.
could both do some work in the trick room. I agree.
Milotic can also hit really hard.
Right. I will say that this team so far has actually pretty good hazard control, pretty fair. It has 3 Rockers and Toxic Spiker, think in Nidoking. And for its removal, it has only 1 Defogger, but it also has a Spinner, and it has, of course, Cinderace's Quartz Change, which makes it so that nobody actually ever wants to set up hazards against you. Plus, I like Komala. I actually think Komala is one of the better Rapid Spirit you can get at Tier 4.
Yep, I actually am in a league where I got it as Tier 5.
I know, last season, no, I think 2 seasons ago, it was Tier 5, and I loved it. I brought it to so many games, and even though it was Tier 5, but let's not relive past glory.
Bandit Komala is also such a big threat.
Bandit sleeped out
It
Komala.
hits so hard.
What are we doing? Let's keep talking about this team, shall we? But yeah, it does have a fair amount of no, actually not that much, but some setup potential, like Nasty Plot, Tornadus, or No Retreat Failings. Oh, Bulu can also set up, you're right. But yeah,
Liepard, I guess, as well with Nasty Plot or Horn Claws, but
I mean that can.
How are
work,
you gonna pull it off?
I know. We should talk about its weaknesses. The team has 4 weaknesses to ground and 4 weaknesses to ice, where it lost quite a few points. So its ground weakness is covered by Bulu, which is good. More and covered by Tornadus, but Bulu really helps it getting terrain for its 4 times weakness to ground. But that leaves its weakness to ice as a fairly big one. It has Milotic and Cinderace and Metagross to help with that, but there's still 4 months weak to it, you know.
Yeah, and Metagross and Cinderace both can recover, well Milotic can, but if you put that much pressure on Milotic, even that will break eventually, because it has only 16 recover and you need to use those well. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think we covered everything now, so let's move on to Arctic something of the Amarillo Azumarils. This team has Garchomp, Ferrothorn, Mega Houndoom, Slowking, Girder, Oricorio, Clefable, Zapdos, Nidoqueen, Leavanny, and Armaldo.
I love that logo.
It's not actually their logo. They didn't post the logo. I found something on the internet.
Oh.
Yeah. That would be a cool logo, but oh well. This once again this is both an offensive team and a defensive team. This is a very bulky offense team, I'd say. It has a good offensive core and a good defensive core. So the offensive core of like Garchomp, Mega Houndoom, Zapdos even. It's very hard, Nidoqueen too. And then its defensive core of, which is the big one, of Ferrothorn, Slowking, and Clefable. I think they're all very good. Those are all very good mons.
One thing that bothers me when I look at this team is, why draft Mega Houndoom but nothing that sets Sun? I mean, there's no Drought setter, there's no Prankstermon that could guaranteedly set up a Sun. I don't even know if anything on this team gets Sunny Day. Why draft Mega Houndoom then?
If any, I mean, Mega Houndoom still hits hard without the Sun. You know, it's still a fast, hard-hitting special attacker.
Yeah, but it bothers me.
Plus, it sets up Nasty Plot. Like, honestly, I mean, Nasty Plot is better than the Sun being up, in my opinion, for Houndoom.
Good luck trying to get up a Nasty Plot. This thing is a glass cannon like no one ever was.
Yeah.
It dies to any hit.
See, where the team lost some point is its speed, because this is a slow team. Let me say that. It has Houndoom is the fastest mon at 115, and then it has Garchomp at 102, and I guess Zapdos at 100. But it also has mons like Ferrothorn, Slowking, Girder, Armaldo. It has some extremely slow mons. It does have a Trick Room setter in Slowking. I'll say that. So if that's what he's going for, and he is able to pull it off. It has a
web setter as well.
It has a web setter as well. It does, I will give it that point. Leavanny can help on some occasions. I don't think you always want to bring Leavanny though, but on matchups where the webs really help you through, that could make the difference. But the thing is, that would only help pretty much probably for like Garchomp and Houndoom. The rest is still not gonna outspeed anything. You think Slowking is gonna outspeed something even because webs are up?
With Tailwind, maybe.
You want to set up Tailwind and Web so that your Slowking can start outspeeding things.
Yeah, Scarf, Slowking, and Webs and Tailwind. What's gonna outspeed it?
Probably anything with like base 90 or base 100.
Nah.
And I do gotta mention its type coverage here because this is quite a big one. That's 15 out of 18 types. Then there's 4 weak to water, 4 weak to ice, and 4 weak to rock, including a quad weakness in Oricorio if he's bringing fire Oricorio. And that's a lot of weaknesses. Ice is somewhat covered by Slowking and Houndoom. Water is covered by Ferrothorn and Slowking again, which is okay. But then rock is pretty much only covered by... And it's covered Ferrothorn and Girder and Nidoqueen.
Leavanny also resists water.
Yeah, okay, I guess Leavanny is also there. I don't know. I'm not sure how seriously I gotta take Leavanny for taking hits, because usually it just sets up webs and then dies, right?
Usually, but it can be bulky. You can get some hits. I've used the Leavanny a few times.
Alright. So yeah, ongoing thought, like, it has a very good Fairy Dragon Steel Core, Garchomp, Ferrothorn, Clefable. That's really good in terms of cores, as far as cores. And then it's Grass Fire, Water Core, and Ferrothorn, Houndoom, Slowking. I think both of those are very good. Like, it's a very centric team. It's definitely built around very good mons, and then has some supporters like Zapdos and Nidoqueen.
Yep.
So like I'm saying, this is also just still a good team. Like, just because you're 14 doesn't mean that we think your team is bad. You're still a good team. It's just that every team going onward from this at least has somewhat of an edge somewhere else that pushes them just a little bit higher.
With 18 coaches, you're gonna land somewhere anyway.
Yeah, I actually think all the coaches did pretty well this season. Like I mean, I keep saying this, and I probably should stop saying this by now, but there isn't a single team that I think is weak.
In the end, you can draft the best team there ever was and still lose the season without any win. It's possible.
Yes, I don't think my track record has been great in predicting which team will actually win based on these PRs, because sometimes the team that I rank highest just don't do well at all. Which we may find out. Alright. Moving on to AZ Jovi with the Dynamat Aggies. This team has Zygarde 50%, Togekiss, Umbreon, Chestnut, Lycanroc Day, Lantern, Volcarona, Blissey, Megasteelix, Squeezing, and Espeon. And what did you say about there not being any bulky teams?
I mean, he did this purposely. He was salty that all his mons were sniped, so he F8 or his entire team to be stalled completely because he was annoyed. And he definitely did this.
Yeah, this team is disgustingly bulky.
I like that he picked up the dual pairing with Umbreon and Espeon. I like that a lot.
Just for flavor, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah, but Like I said, he has. Let's talk about all of his defensive mons here for a sec. He has Blissey, Chestnut, Umbreon, Mega Steelix, and then still Weezing and Togekiss there. Plus Zygarde can take hits, Lantern can take hits, Volcarona can take hits. Like, other than Lycanroc, I think all of his mons just take hits. They're all extremely bulky. And that 19 defense, I honestly should have just given him a 20 for this, because I mean, we calculated these based on stats and all that. But this team is so disgustingly bulky, and it sets up. It can set wishes to each other. Like, passing wishes to Mega Steelix is very nice. Setting up seeds with the Chestnut and passing that along, it recovers so well. The only thing I would maybe add is that half of his mons are much too passive, and like Blissey, Umbreon, Lantern, they're all extremely passive and don't, like, if you set up a sub on them, you can just set up for free most of the time, right?
Lantern can still hit hard. It can still hit.
It can hit. Sure, hit hard is arguable.
I heard a Specs Lantern do about 30% or 40% to a Mega Latios once with Hydro Pump.
That's a weird brag. Specs Lantern does 30 or 40%. Woo!
To a Mega Latios.
Still though.
Resisted. It's a Lantern.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I will say it in terms of offense, it does actually have a fairly decent, powerfully Fairy Dragon Steel core. Like Zygarde, Togekiss, Steelix are mons you have to look out for.
Volcarona with the hit boots is also a terror that is not fun to play against.
Yeah, I think Volcarona is gonna make some waves this season. Like, boots Volcarona. I mean, we had that last season, and I think Volcarona has always done well, to be honest.
Yeah, now it's gonna do even better, because now you don't even have to bother setting up rocks, because why? It's having boots anyway, and nothing cares about rocks otherwise.
Yeah. Well, after this, if we talk about his speed, he has. It's not great either. He has Lycanroc and Espeon at 110, and then Volcarona at 100. And from there it only goes down. There's Zygarde at 95, and the rest is just fairly slow. The rest of his mons are all slow. Except for maybe Togekiss, you can argue.
Yeah, but to be fair, Zygarde sets up Dragon Dances, Volcarona sets up River Dances, Togekiss can Tailwind. So there are ways to increase the speed of some mons.
Yeah. That's why it's 15, which is not bad. It at least sounds average, because none of his mons are extremely slow, other than maybe Steelix and Blissey. But just the fact that he tops out at 110 and he has 2 mons there is a bit awkward, I'll say. In terms of speed.
His team also counters Sand, uses Sand Rush, Steelix Mega uses Sand Forest. So this team definitely also counters Sand, because it can abuse Sand as well, so
huh.
Yeah.
I hope we're not gonna meet a Sand team soon. Foreshadowing. Right, let's talk about hazards.
Oh.
He has 3 Stealth Rockers, which are all pretty good Stealth Rockers, I'll say, in Lycanroc, Zygarde, and Blissey. Wait, and Steelix. Oh, there's 4 Stealth Rockers, my bad. Oh, Zygarde doesn't set up rocks, my bad. Yeah, he has 3 Stealth Rockers. There we go.
I was going to say, Zygarde doesn't set up rocks.
Yeah, Zygarde doesn't set up rocks, my bad. He has a Spiker in Chestnut and a Toxic Spiker in Weezing. So he has access to 3 different types of hazard, which is pretty good. And for his removal, he has 3 Defoggers, and he has Magic Bounce on Espeon, which I'll count. So his Defoggers aren't bad. I don't need to check. He has Togekiss, Weezing, and
Volcarona.
Yeah, this Volcarona, right? Does Volcarona defog? That's weird. It feels weird to me, but yeah, those are his 3.
I mean, no, it could default because of the boots, because it doesn't take the rocks damage anymore.
I know. Which is weird. Like, mons like Volcarona and Moltres are just viable defoggers now, and it boggles me. But yeah, in terms of coverage, he has 4 weak to fighting, and he has 3 weak to ice with a quad in Zygarde. And I think his fighting weakness is going to be the biggest here. He does have Weezing to cover that, as well as Espeon and Togekiss.
I feel like I feel like a ghost would have benefited this team nicely.
Yeah, you
A
definitely
ghost
could have used a
somewhere
ghost type,
to
I'll agree.
Yeah.
Because like Togekiss can switch in, but most fighting types have access to either ice or rock moves. So which means that Weezing is more or less his only real defense to it. Because Espeon doesn't want to switch in the fighting mons at all. Because they can either carry knockoff or they just do a ton with like close combat. And Weezing doesn't
Also,
have the best recovery.
most fighting types also have Poison Jab, which also doesn't appreciate Togekiss.
Yeah, also Poison Jab as well, you're right. So which means that Weezing is his best defense to fighting types, and it is a pretty good defense. Like most fighting types don't have coverage to like Psychic, but still Weezing doesn't have the best recovery. He has to rely on Pain Split, and if he gets worn down, then afterwards people can just click close combat on you, and it does a chunk every time.
Yep.
So yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Plus the nips.
Sorry?
Weezing doesn't do a lot back to most fighting types,
Yeah.
and most are gonna switch out anyway because of the Will-O-Wisp risk. And that's really the only way you could threaten out a fighting type via Will-O-Wisp. Because otherwise most fighting types are not gonna care much about the attacks Weezing's gonna throw at them.
Especially like Guts fighting types. He has to be careful for Guts fighting types, because Weezing does not threaten those at all. Alright, then I think we can move on to number 12, which is my fellow mod KaiWhai, which is a Sand team.
Yeah.
Okay, so he has Dracovish, Hippo, Rodamo, Talonflame, Stoutland, Wartortle, Excadrill, Gengar, Sylveon, Zoroark, and Dottler. And it seems... Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna say right out and be honest. I despise Dracovish, and everything that is linked with it, I hate it. I despise that mon.
Yeah, so he has he has Hippo, and he has 3 really good Sandbrush mons. Well, he has 2 really good Sandbrush mons and a very decent Sandbrush mon in Stoutland, I'll say.
Stoutland can hit hard. I don't underestimate.
Stoutland isn't bad, not at all. I mean, just compared to Excadrill and Dracovish, he's the least of the 3, right?
I mean, someone has to be at the bottom.
Yeah. But it seems weird that his offense is only 15. But that also may have to do with the fact that he, for some reason, decided to pick 2 NFE mons in Wartortle and Dottler, which sets his overall offenses really low.
He told me that he tried to make an hyper-offensive team, and my reaction to that was, when I looked at his team, was that you tried to imitate one, but you failed miserably at making one, because this is not an hyper-offensive team. It's middling offensive, some bulky backbones, and that's not really what hyper-offensive is.
Yeah. So like his offensive core consists of Dracovish and Excadrill plus Stoutland. Like his Sand Sweepers, and on the special side he has Gengar, Sylveon, and Zoroark, which are decent.
Yeah, but
none of those. I mean, Gengar hits hard and is fast, but the other 2 are only mediocre in terms of like power and sweeping potential. I'd say.
Yeah, because if you take the Sand away, then that disables most of his team already, and that's not really.
Yeah, it's a team that just heavily relies on Sand. Like Sand is more or less the only thing it really has going on. It's just, I think, the main weakness here. Its defensive core is like Hippo and Sylveon, and then his NFE mons in Wartortle and Dottler, which isn't the best.
I generally have a very low opinion on NFE mons, because I just feel like they are useless once they are knocked off and lose their Eevee and just are a burden at that point. So I don't like using NFE mons a lot, because I just feel like they are so weak.
Yeah, I mean, I can see...
They just are there.
Yeah, I can see Dottler, because that at least has function. You can set up webs, it's a very specific function. Like, that's what a tier 5 mon more or less is for, just one specific function. He sets up webs and dice, which is fine. I mean, he might still take some hits. Like, I think Dottler within the Violet is actually fairly bulky, but Wartortle, though, I really don't know about Wartortle.
The only thing it does is spin.
Yeah, it spins.
And it's not a great spinner at that, because it has no recovery. once it's knocked off, it loses all its bulk almost, and even offensively it doesn't do a lot. So it's really just the mon that's just for spinning and nothing else.
Yeah, and especially for a sand team, you kind of want something like a bulky water type, like a good bulky water types to cover your offense, because most of your sand mons don't do well versus like water and ice, right? Hippo and Excadrill don't have the best matchup versus water types, and you don't want to set in your Dracovish on a Scald because you risk the burn.
Exactly.
So at best he only has Rotom Mow.
You would freeze dry on. You would also risk the freeze dry on Dracovish.
Exactly. But yeah, in terms of hazard control, he has 2 Stealth Rockers in Hippo, and does Excadrill get rocks?
Yep.
Yeah, Excadrill,
that's its
right?
main role usually.
Huh. And 1 Web Setter in Dodler. Those are all the hazards he has. And then in terms of removal, he has 2 Defoggers in Rotom and Talonflame, and he has 2 Spinners in Excadrill and Wartortle. Which is okay, but not really. I think his removal is a bit better than his setting potential, but both are a bit underwhelming.
It's kind of like 1 good, bad defogger, 1 good spinner and 1 bad spinner.
Yeah.
Feels like that because Excadrill is an excellent spinner.
Mm-hmm.
Benefits so much from the speed boost, and it also has enough offensive pressure to threaten stuff out to spin safely.
Mm-hmm.
Where Wartortle is just there, and you can easily go into Ghost type and not care at all about anything Wartortle does. And Talonflame doesn't really want to use Defog because it doesn't have much bulk, and would already.
I mean, you can run offensive defoggers are a thing, you know.
Yeah,
plus, like if you go like Flame Body Talonflame, you do like Will-O-Wisp Roost set with defog or something. That's actually a fine set. It's not bad.
Yeah, but I feel like on an offensive team you wouldn't really want to use it because it loses your land turns that way. Because in an offensive team, especially a weather team, you sacrifice any crucial turns, because every return of sand can cost you so much momentum if you waste it with roosting, defogging, Will-O-Wisping and such.
Yeah, but didn't we just establish that it isn't really that much of an offensive team?
No, but he wanted to try one, so I'm cannot an offensive team.
Right, okay. And those are coverage though, like type coverage, I think he did pretty well. Like he has 15 out of 18 types and no really big weakness. Like we mentioned, the water weakness isn't the best. He only has 3 months weekly where he does have months to cover for it. They just aren't the best months, you know.
Yeah, because if he runs Water, then he loses his sand speed. Or
let's just move on.
Yeah, only 2 more.
Yeah. Next we have Faye at 11th with the Busted Disguise, which I'll say I love this logo. This is a really good logo. But
I like Mimikyu, so I like it as well.
Anyway, Faye has Megazord X, Silvally, Vanillux, Obstagoon, Steelix, Rotom Fan, Tapu Fini, Alakazam, Hitmonchan, Excelgor, and Decidueye. And this is just a pretty balanced team overall. Like all of its scores are at least average, except for maybe the coverage. But it did, like you can see, it definitely went for balance here, which is what I usually go for as well. Its offensive core of like Megazord, Obstagoon, Alakazam are all very threatening. And then it has a defensive core with like Steelix, Tapu Fini, Vanillux with the Aurora Veil.
I just find it odd that he has Vanillux but nothing else that abuses hail.
Well, I mean, there aren't that many Slush Rush mons, you know. We already saw Alolan Sandslash got taken, so.
Yeah, but still, I just find it odd to draft a weather setter and not have anything other than the setter that abuses it.
I think it's mainly...
Like, there's not even any mod I think that learns Blizzard on this team that could abuse it.
Yeah, I think the point is to set up Aurora Veil so that his Zard X has a better time setting up, which I think is a good strategy.
I just wish there would be more user or more tech behind it, like...
Yeah.
I just wish it wouldn't be, I just draft the Hailmon just to set Hail and that's predictable.
Yeah. I mean, hail is the worst of the weather, so I don't blame Faye for not going all in on it. You know? But yeah, if we look at the speeds, it's actually pretty nice. It has Excelgor at 145, then Alakazam at 120. Two fast mons. From there, the fast mon is Charizard at 100. And there's like 295 mons in Silvally and Obstagoon. But just in terms, like, it has a very fast mon, a fairly fast mon, and then some very decently fast mons, which is okay. Like, it's not the best. Like, it doesn't have the amazing speed, but it has a pretty decent speed coverage overall. As far as hazards go, it has one Spiker and the T-Spiker, which is the same, which is Excelgor. And there's one Stealth Rocker in Steelix. But then there's 5 Defoggers and a Spinner, which I think she did very well, faded very well, because Azar team wants to have plenty of hazard removal. So I'll give the credit where it's due that he makes sure to cover that base really well at least.
Yeah, we can run the godlike boots.
Yeah, Zard can't run boots. Yeah, so I don't blame Fade for also not picking up too many other hazard setters, because you just want to get rid of hazards, not set them up in his Zardex team. So that's pretty well.
Yeah.
Its type coverage could have been a bit better though. They run 16 out of 18 types with 4 weak to fire, 4 weak to rock, and 4 weak to fighting, which are all, they're big weaknesses. Its fighting weakness is somewhat covered by Feeny and Decidueye. Alakazam is there, but you don't want to switch in Alakazam to anything. Its rock weakness is somewhat covered by the Steelix and I guess Hitmonchan. And then its fighting covered is its fire weakness is covered by Feeny and Zardex.
I mean, to be fair, he can use that is very hard to prep for because of the viability and versatility it has. So yeah, maybe that's probably why he picked the body.
Yeah, I mean technically Faye has perfect type coverage because Silvally can just become any type he wants, right? But
I had Silvally last season and it did really well. It was a great defensive utility one for me.
Yeah, it is super versatile. I'll give it that. Just because it can become any type you want it to be. So
Also, shout out Faye. Shout out to you, Faye, if you also do some mind games with Silvally like I did. It worked for me. It worked for me.
Yeah. What type do you think is gonna bring Silvally most of the time? I'm guessing ground. It's gonna bring ground a lot. Maybe water sometimes too.
Fighting.
Silvally Fairy probably goes, yeah. Alright.
Probably whatever his opponent's most offensive threat is his team, and he doesn't have an answer for, probably.
Yeah, that. I mean, that's the obvious answer. We're speculating here. Okay. But yeah, we're a very nicely balanced team. There's a lot of weaknesses, but also a lot of ways to deal with that. It's a very versatile team, I'll say. So this comes down to how well you can prep with it. So with that, I think we'll move on to the next one, and the last one I'll do with you, which is Dragons of Smite and the Cinnabar Cyndaquils. This team has Kartana, Mega Manectric, Araquanid, Incineroar, Frostlass, Audino, Latios, Aerodactyl, Primarina, Hitmontop, and Muk. And this is a fast
one that I really like.
There's
also shout out for the Alolan core in Incineroar and Primarina. Bonus point if you would have picked the situation.
I mean, this is a very fast team. I'll give this one of the fastest teams in C Division. There's Mega Manectric 135, Aerodactyl at 130, then Frostlass at 110, another mon at 110, which is Latios, and Kartana at 109. He has 5 mons over 100. That's incredibly good. As far as speed tiers goes.
Definitely.
Yeah. And he has some threatening offense here. Oh, go ahead.
Also, all of these are also very offensive because Frostless is very underrated. Can dish out some really hard hits if you predict right with like a Specs or even a Scarf to outscarf other Scarfers. I used Frostless in a season once and it was kill leader along with like Pokemon
Really?
like Darkrai and such. It was 4th place in a season with Ubers.
Wow. Okay. For me, I always felt Frostless's offense is a bit underwhelming. Like even if you put specs on it, it still doesn't hit that hard. But you know, different
It
experiences,
has
I guess.
insane coverage. If you predict well, it can two-shot most things, and if it's speed, most things don't outspeed it. So if
Yeah,
you
right.
can very easily pick off things with Frostless.
Yeah. I should also mention that despite the speed, they still have webs. Like this is just all the speed coverage you could ever need.
Definitely.
Yeah. Its offensive core is fairly threatening. Yes, Cortana, Mega Manectric, Latios, Aerodactyl, Primarina, and Incineroar, which are all pretty threatening mons. And in terms of defense, Araquanid, Audino, Latios, Primarina, Hitmontop can all. Why did I put Latios there? Latios isn't that bulky, but yeah, the other four are fairly bulky. Also, Mach.
Araquanid
Shouldn't
also
forget
be very
Mach.
offensively.
Araquanid can be offensive, yeah, but pretty much only with water moves.
Don't sleep Araquanid. Really high attacks without even any attack investment.
Yeah, no, like Bandit Liquidation hits like a truck. I get that, but that's the only move that will hit hard then because of the ability. Like its attack stat isn't great.
I've used Scald on Araquanid before and it's still like 30% to most resistant Pokemon. It even did like, I don't know, 30 to 40% to a Tita in Sand without any special attack investment.
Wow.
Don't sleep on Araquanid,
Alright,
it's
alright.
a really good mod.
Yeah, in terms of hazards, it has a Spiker, a Rocker, and a Webber, which is okay. It could use a bit more, but that's not bad at least. It does have 3
I
Defoggers
wish
and a Spitter
Audino
though.
would get rocks.
You wish who get rocks?
I wish Audino gets rocks.
I know, right? Then it probably wouldn't be a tier 5 anymore though.
Nah, it would be a tier 5. Let me have it. Audino gets Trick Room, which he in Primarina. Trick Room Primarina specs 2 KOs almost everything.
Don't think this is the team for Trick Room though. Look how fast most of his mons are.
Point. People are going to prep for Scarfers and speed control, and then you just surprise sweep them.
Yeah.
Because everything is faster than
Yeah,
you.
okay. You can definitely get somebody with that on the right week. You're right.
Because Primarina is insane in Trick Room. I can speak from experience because I'm using a Trick Room team with Primarina at the moment. Primarina killed almost everything.
Yeah, in terms of type coverage, the team is pretty good. It has almost all the types, 17 out of 18 types. Its only big weakness, is Rock, which 4 months be weak with Araquanid, Cineroar, Frostless, and Aerodactyl. But he has Hitmontop and he has Cortana to deal with that.
He also has triple Intimidate,
Triple. Wait, Manectric,
Mega Manectric,
Incineroar.
Incineroar, and Hitmontop.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, yes, triple Intimidate.
And given that most rock types are physical, that also is a pretty decent check to it. Because he can just pivot out between his Intimidate mons and weaken Pokemon more and more.
Yeah, that's actually really good full turn core there with Manectric and Incineroar. I'll say because you can get the right switch in all the time. He doesn't have the best mons to really take advantage of that. Like he doesn't really have a setup sweeper, does he?
Latios.
I guess. Aerodactyl gets Dragon Dance now.
Latios has Dragon Dance,
Yeah.
Calm Mind I think. Aerodactyl has Dragon Dance, Incineroar gets Bulk Up, Katana gets Swords Dance, Mach gets Curse, Hitmontop gets Bulk Up I
You're
think.
not gonna set up with Hitmontop, come on. I mean, you can.
Technician Hitmontop is actually really good.
Alright. So yeah. Very nice team, very fast team, but that has its other stuff still fairly well handled. I think it's a pretty strong team. So you can see if this team is at the middle, you can only imagine what comes next, right? And I'm afraid you're gonna have to imagine because this is the last one that we're gonna do for now. So yeah.
Yep.
Anything you'd like to say to everybody, Cynthia?
Not really, except that I was right. Most of the teams up until now are really offensive. It seems like the focus was really on offensive this season, but not really much hazard control. But I'm still curious how the teams are gonna be, because I see a lot of new picks that you don't less and some other stuff that you don't see drafted off. I don't know right off my head. But I'm happy whenever I see new stuff being drafted instead of the same overall picks. So that's something I'm excited for. To see how the teams are gonna do with these new mons that are not often drafted.
Yeah, definitely. I'm also really looking forward to this season. Well. So yeah, thank you, Cynthia, for your commentary. I think you definitely gave some perspective that I wouldn't have mentioned. And to everybody else, I will see you right back with KaiWhai. And we're back. Right now, I'm with KaiWhai.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. So now we're doing the top 9, and so I'm. This is going to be a wild setup there because now we're going to see, because we're already stopped at 77 points. So from now we're only going to go up. And with that, I think we should just immediately hop into it. At number 9, we have Daddy himself, Riz himself, from the Hell Creek Cat Smash. Yeah, so his team is Victini, Rillaboom, Crobat, Alolan Muck, Sandslash, Shelmet, Keldeo, Mega Mawile, Boltund, Galarian, Mr. Mime, and Drampa. So what are your first impressions when you see this team, Kai?
Well, the first thing I see is a Shelmet, and I don't know what a Shelmet does, ever.
It's actually pretty bulky with a Nevila and sets up spikes and toxic spikes, I think.
Yeah, I've never seen a Shelmet drafted, which is crazy.
So curious how that works. So if we look at his points, he actually scored extremely average on everything, but somehow that gives him above average. Actually, he's right in the middle, so that makes him is an extremely average point total too. So yeah, his offense, the big three we have to look at are Victini, Megamaw, and Keldeo. And they cover a lot of ground together. Like, there's not much. Like, Victini and Megamaw just destroy any wall you try to put in front of them.
Victini alone is a beast.
Yeah. And then Keldeo with Air Slash, and I think Close Combat and Aqua Jet and stuff like that too. So you get, like, physical Keldeo is a real move set now.
I've never used a Keldeo, but I know that Riss was definitely very excited to draft it.
Yeah, it's really hard to defend against because it hits on both the physical and the special side so well. Even if you're a full special set, just because you have Secret Sword, means that most special walls can't really wall it effectively.
Yeah, so it can still hit physical and special. It does have physical moves, but its physical attack is obviously worse than its special.
Yeah. I'd say Rillaboom here too, so like Victini and Marwell's ground weakness is really well covered too, as well as Alolan Muck over there.
Which I hadn't even thought about until someone brought that up. I was like, wow, that's actually really smart to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Rillaboom is just an interesting pick. I don't mess with terrains much, because I didn't even know they existed until Generation 7 because of the Tapus.
Right. I mean, the terrains are a bit worse now, but on the other hand, Rillaboom is a bit better because his move pool got better. But yeah, his defense is mainly Muck, Shelmet, like Crobat, I suppose, and Megamaw and Drampa are bulky enough that it tanks some hits. So actually, he doesn't have a straight up like purely defensive mons here. Like he has some bulky bulky defenders that do stuff, But yeah,
Rillaboom has some bulk.
Rillaboom has some bulk too, and he helps set up the recovery for the rest of the team, like get that terrain, because almost his entire team is grounded other than Crobat, and Crobat has recovery on its own, so Rillaboom really helps. Like, Rillaboom does his team a lot of justice and picks up where the team lacks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. His speed tiers actually are pretty decent too. He has Crobat at 130, Boltund at 121, and then he has Keldeo 108, and he has 2 Mons at 100, being Victini and Mr. Mime. He's actually pretty okay. He has some Mons on the lower end of the curve too, although I don't think he has any Trick Room setters. Yeah, doesn't look like it. But that's at least okay, like really average, which his score reflects.
It's kind of surprising how absolutely average his team is right now.
Yeah, his team's. I mean, that's just a good balanced team in that sense, right? You don't have one score particularly high, but you just have everything really average.
Which is, I think, pretty good for draft.
Yeah. His hazard control, he has 2 Spikers in Sandslash and Shelmet, and he has 2 Stealth Rockers in, again, Sandslash, and I'm missing one.
I don't think Mawile gets him.
No.
Oh, it does. It does.
Oh, Mawile gets rocks. Okay, there you go.
Huh.
Yeah, and then, which is okay, like 2 sets of hazards, 2 months each to set him up. I mean, Sandslash sets up both rocks and spikes, so he's going to probably rely on Sandslash a lot this season to set up rocks. But his removal, 2 defoggers in Crobat.
Shelmet also gets Toxic Spikes, too.
Oh, Shelmet gets Toxic Spikes too. Okay, there you go. But he also has 2 spinners in Alolan Muck and Galarian Mr. Mime. It gets Rapid Spin, which is weird.
It also can clear screens with its weird ability.
Hey, how does... Yeah, I forgot. What's Galarian Mime's ability again?
I'm pretty sure it's like called Screen Cleaner or something. It just like removes screens when it gets put out into the field. It's a really weird ability, and I've not seen much of it.
I hope he does that a few times. I think a lot of people are going to forget about that ability.
Yeah.
Alright, his type coverage is okay, not the best. He has 16 out of 18 types, but he has a lot of shared weaknesses. He has 4 months weak to ground, 4 months weak to ice, 4 months weak to rock, and 4 months weak to fire.
That's a lot of weaknesses.
Yeah, that's a lot. But, I mean, he covers them fairly well. Like I said, the ground weakness is a godsend that Rillaboom is there. Plus, he also has Crobat to cover for those. Plus, Shelmet resisted. His ice weakness, he has Keldeo for that, as well as Mawile and Victini, so that should be fine. The rock weakness is more or less covered by Shelmet, Keldeo, and Mawile. And then the fire weakness, he has Drampa, Victini again, and again Keldeo. So Keldeo also puts in a lot of work here for the coverage.
I'd be surprised if he ran a defensive Victini set, though.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go purely defense. Like, I feel like Assault Vest Victini is actually not a bad set.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, because you can switch it into like special Ice Mons or something like that, and if he gets frozen, you just like V-Create or Blue Flare. I think both of those thaw you out, don't they? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I've never actually used a Victini. I just know it's a beast for sure.
Yeah. But yeah. So, really average team right in the middle. I think with that we can move on to Ravens at number 8 with the Chicago Flash Fires. So his team is Tornadus, Tyrion, Slowbro, Roserade, Comfey, Piloswine, Kecleon, Mega Scizor, Terrakion, Zygarde, Rotom, and Morgrem. So that's an interesting team, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I know that it started off with Torn T, and I think he had the intention of drafting Vish because he'd done that a lot in Speed Tours, and so I took Vish round 1, and it seemingly ruined his plan entirely. But I think he was able to make up for it.
Yeah, you can see none of his stat score are particularly high. Not offense, defense, or speed. None of those are very high, and I think a lot of that has to do with the NFE mons he brought here, like Piloswine and Morgrem. Well, I mean, as well as Comfey. Like, Comfey is a good mon, don't get me wrong, but none of his stats are particularly great. He needs to set up and use his ability well.
Base Rotom is kind of...
Yeah, that's what base Rotom is also... I mean, he definitely... that's the risk here. He brought a lot of, tier 1 mons, I think. Mega Scizor, Terrakion, Tornadus. But because of that, he also had to bring a lot of tier 5 mons in, Kecleon, Rotom, Morgrem. So that cost him some points on the stat-wise, at least. But, I mean, he's still in 8th place, which is pretty good. So his offense mainly consists of Tornadus, Mega Scizor, Terrakion, and Zygarde, which are all very threatening, very powerful mons. I think there's not a lot that can defend against all of those. Don't you think?
Yeah, especially because Torrentee doesn't even have. I think it got Nasty Plot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
And as well as Air Slash, so you don't even need to risk the Hurricane misses anymore.
Oh my god, yeah, that's a crazy strong mon.
I bet it's still gonna miss Air Slash though. But I will.
Such as Raven.
Yeah. His defensive mons are Slowbro, Piloswine, Mega Scissor again, and I guess Comfy. You could work as a defensive mon.
Comfy is weird. I've seen
Yeah.
Comfy just mainly use Calm Mind, and when you let it Calm Mind, it gets out of hand pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't see it do a whole lot. It does get defog, yeah.
Yeah, I will say the Regenerator core in Tornadus and Slowbro is really good.
I actually liked looking at Slowbro this season because it did get a body press, which really is nice when it's super defensive. I think it got plot too, but I don't know how often it wants to run plot over like Calm Mind.
Did you say plot like nasty plot, or did you say pluck?
Yeah.
I heard pluck
Plot.
for a second. Okay.
It got nasty plot.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Pluck, Slowbro. But yeah, think especially Tornado, Slowbro, and Scizor are gonna definitely hold the backbone of his defensive sets every time. Like that's gonna be the toughest to get through those 3 months. Because Mega Scissor and Slowbro cover each other really well in terms of weaknesses.
Yeah, because I think it's Scissor's only weak to fire.
Yeah.
Slowbro eats fire.
Yeah, and Scissor eats bug moves. Scissor eats knockoffs, which Slowbro doesn't necessarily like. You know.
Oh, yeah, because it's Mega Scissor, especially. That's nice.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really solid core there. And in terms of speed, it's pretty decent as well. Not amazing, but he has Tornadoes at 121, Zygarde, like Zydog, at 115, and Terrakion at 108. And then I guess Comfy has 100, but you don't really care about Comfy speed since almost all of his moves have priority anyways. So he essentially has just 3 fast mons that you do need to take care of. Like they do have a nice spread to them: 121, 115, 108. That's pretty decent at least.
He's got a lot of slow mons though, yet again because of the NFEs he's got.
Yeah, that definitely brought it down a bit. He could potentially set up Trick Room with Slowbro, but I'm not sure which mon really takes advantage of that. I guess Mega Scissor does.
Yeah, I don't see Trick Room run a whole lot, but Scissor gets a lot of priority though, which helps
Yeah, exactly.
it not need Trick Room anyways.
Like the team has good priority. There's Scizor, there's Zygarde with Extreme Speed, there's Piloswine with Ice Shard, Kecleon can bring Sucker Punch plus Comfy as priority and everything, so he definitely covers for speed really well with all of the priority on his mons. In terms of hazards, he has 3 Stealth Rockers, a Spiker and a Toxic Spiker. Both of those are Roserade. I think the Rockers are Piloswine, Terrakion, and Kecleon, right? Yeah, which is pretty good. And he has 4 different defoggers, which are also pretty good. Which is why you get the 18 for hazards. Like, if he had Webs too and he had like 1 more remover, that would be a perfect 20. But 18 is a really good score for hazard coverage.
It's always nice to have a Rapid Spinner too over a defogger.
Yeah. Especially
you
if you
don't have
have
to figure out
as much hazard as he has, then you have a way to remove them without losing your hazards. But yeah.
Yeah.
And in terms of type coverage, he did really well too. He has 17 out of 18 types, and he only has 1 big weakness, which is actually Steel, which you don't see very often.
It's not a super offensive typing, so...
Yeah,
and he already has one of the most offensive Steel mons with Mega Scissor.
Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, because he has 2 fairies, plus he has Piloswine and Terrakion, which are big to Steel. But like you said, but Mega Scissor and Slowbro are all the Steel coverage you ever need, like, to defend against it. So I think that's not really going to be a problem for him at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty good team, Ravens. I think like you covered most of your bases really well. Just I think the NFE mons plus Rotom, just the lower tier mons that you pick, just put your score down more or less. But I think the team still looks pretty nice. Like the top tier mons are definitely gonna give you a huge advantage a lot of the times. You have any last thoughts about the team?
I mean, you pretty much said it all. He was able to make a lot of good choices with the higher tiers, and even though he had to draft some lower ones, it still flows pretty good together. defensively and offensively.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Then we move on to the next one. Is Nathan with the Charlotte Chimchars. Charlotte?
I think it's Charlotte.
Charlotte, right? It's the place? Yeah, okay. He has Mew, Buzzwole, Snorlax, Whimsicott, Alolan Persian, Dusknoir, Corviknight, Toxapex, Mega Garchomp, Heliolisk, and Glaceon. And this is a very defensive team, which you can immediately see.
Yeah, especially with things like Corviknight and Toxapex.
Mm-hmm. Like I mentioned with Cynthia believes that there weren't a lot of defensive teams, but actually I think that most of the good defensive teams are actually higher up. This is not the last defensive team that you're going to see today, or in this half, I guess. I'm not sure if it's going to be one or two videos, but never mind that. But yeah, his defensive core is just really good. His Mew, Buzzwole, Snorlax plus Toxapex and Corviknight. And on top of that, he still has like Whimsicott, Alolan Persian, and Dusknoir, which are all really, really bulky. So
it's a crazy defensive team.
Getting through this team is going to be a nightmare. Plus, I like that he has Mew. Like, Mew can run so many sets, especially now that he has like Dragon Dance and Flare Blitz and all that.
I can almost see it probably being run more offensive than defensive just because of how defensive this team is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I think that's like a good coverage from Mew that you're never forced to bring it defensive because you have so many good defensive options. So you can really like pursue any kind of offensive set that you might like or you think would be good because you have the freedom to do so.
He got Mew really late, didn't he, too? I think it was like at least halfway through the first round.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's really weird to predict like what's going to be picked this season. I mean, aside from Mega Lob, I think all of the divisions had very different priorities.
Yeah, it was a weird draft, other than Mega Lob, which I can't believe went first in every single division.
Yeah, literally every single division first pick Mega Lob, which is silly, but that's, if it does really well, that's a conversation for a ban or not, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. As for his offense, he has Mew, Buzzwole, and then he has Mega Garchomp, plus he has Heliolisk as well to help Volt Switch in and out. Which is...
And I remember Nathan saying that he's not going to probably ever bother even Mega Evolving his Garchomp. He's just bringing it as Garchomp without an item, essentially. Right. Which is a weird choice, but I mean, it's a lower tier Garchomp.
I get it. I mean, if you still want the speed, I mean, he's still gonna Mega Evolve it at some point. I mean, he has to bring the Mega Stone anyway, so if he needs that extra damage or needs that extra special attack especially, then he's definitely gonna Mega Evolve him sometimes, but I understand. Like, Mega Garchomp is one of those ones where you really have to be careful when you want to Mega Evolve, just because of the speed it loses.
It's always weird when Megas lose stats. It's just such a weird mon to me.
Mm-hmm. But on the record of speed, he has... His speed tiers are okay. He has Whimsicott at 116, then Alolan Persian at 115. Then he has Heliolisk at 109 and Mew at 100. And I guess Garchomp would count as a 102 before the Mega, but after Mega it's at 92. But that would still be 5 mons at or above 100, which seems pretty good, but he tops out at 116, which isn't the best. Like, there's a lot of mons still faster than Whimsicott.
Especially when Whimsicott already just is using its Prankster for most things anyways.
Yeah. And the next fastest thing is Alolan Persian, which is a good mon, but it's more of a low tier mon that you're not going to bring every match, which means that for a lot of the matches, his fast mon is either going to be Heliolisk or just the Garchomp pre-Mega.
Which is definitely pretty slow.
Yeah, that's something to look out for. Like I said, overall his speed isn't bad. He does have a Trick Room setter in Dusknoir, which could potentially help with, like, I don't know, some kind of Snorlax sweep or Buzzwole sweep even.
Yeah, I could see that working out, especially because of his speed tiers aren't even that high to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Plus Mew can set up Trick Room too, so yes, some options there. Plus, I know a lot of times I don't really count Tailwind as a... But, I mean, Whimsicott has Prankster Tailwind, which is at least a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it can set up Tailwind and then get knocked out. So it at least it doesn't have to waste a turn switching out.
Mm-hmm.
It also gets Trick Room too.
Whimsicott gets Trick Room?
Yeah.
Really? Huh. Okay, then he has 3 Trick Room sellers. There you go. Okay, in terms of hazards, he has 3 Stealth Rockers, 3 Toxic Spikers, and 1 regular Spiker. Which is interesting to see.
You got Spikes now, didn't it?
Hmm?
You got Spikes in Gen 8.
Yeah. I think that's the regular Spiker. Did Mew also get Toxic Spikes? I forgot who the third Toxic Spiker is.
I don't think it got Toxic Spikes. I think it just got normal Spikes because it was a TR.
Did I might have
typed it did get Toxic Spikes.
Yeah, it did get Toxic Spikes, right? I know he has
Okay.
3. So he has Toxic Spikes, Mew, and I think there's something else that also gets Toxic Spikes here, but I don't see it this quickly.
Might have been Whimsicott.
Maybe. Anyway, in terms of removal, he has 1 Spikers and 4 Defoggers, which is really good. I'm sorry, 1... no, not just 4 Defoggers, not a spinner. He has 4 Defoggers. And Corviknight, Mew, Whimsicott, and I think Boswell gets it too, doesn't he?
It probably does, though.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
Oh, well. But yeah, I'd say that's good removal. And it's again good that he has multiple good defoggers, especially like Corviknight and Whimsicott are very viable in that sense. So he doesn't have to bring defog Mew. So again, he has a lot of options for Mew, which I think the team supports really well.
Yet again, it's another team that would still like a spinner, but
yeah,
I mean, still got 4 mons with removal. Whimsicott yet again getting Prankster, so priority removal.
Yeah, so I think it's fine in terms of hazards, which is about 15 is a pretty average score, which is nice. It's not amazing, like he doesn't have a really high score in that sense, but he did well enough, like that it's not the big weakness that he has to worry about.
Yeah, it's not gonna just instant lose to hazard stacking.
Yeah. In terms of type coverage, he has 16 out of 18 types, and he has 4 weak to fire, including a quad and Mega Scissor, and he has 4 weak to fighting. Which isn't the biggest deal, I think, in his team. Like, his fire weakness is really well covered by Toxapex, as well as his fighting weakness. So Toxapex really pulls in a lot of weight here.
Yeah.
Plus,
Mew also helps with the fighting weakness.
Yeah, and Garchomp helps with the fire weakness. So he has it's at least fairly well covered. As well as like the thick fat Snorlax. Plus he has Duskmore as immunity to fighting. So
yeah, its weaknesses are at least covered well.
Yeah. Okay. I think that about rounds it up. So very defensive team, very nicely covered Mew team. I think Mew is definitely going to be the all-star of his team, and I curious how well he's going to be using it.
Yeah, Mew is only as good as the coach using it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and with that we can move on to Jackin of the Greater Western Sydney Gyarados. And you couldn't think of a longer name than that, Jackin? Jeez. Anyway, his team is Dragapult, Scizor, Serena, Moltres, Pangoro, Luxray, Mamoswine, Megadancy, Kangaskhan, Garbodor, and Inteleon. And holy crap, this team is offensive.
Dragapult.
Dragapult, yeah. I mean, at notes for like his offensive mon, I just put down basically everything because look at this mon. Name one mon on his team that isn't an offensive threat.
Garbodor.
I mean, Gunk Shot still hits hard, you know.
It's a mon. That's all I can say about it.
It is a mon.
It hits hard. It's probably the least offensive, but it still hurts a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, look at this score of Dragapult, Megadancy, and Scizor. Just those 3. That's super hard to defend against. Especially
they definitely cover each other well.
Yeah, especially like Dragapult and Scizor can U-turn in and out and get Megadancy in on like favorable switch-ins, and you just clicks a move and what's your switch-in? Especially with Megadancy's huge move pool now. Megadancy does not have a switch-in. Straight up doesn't.
Even has his steel weakness covered fairly well from Megadancy. Well, yeah. Megadancy's steel weakness is covered from like Scizor and Moltres.
Yeah, but it's not like steals or even safe switch-ins to Megadancy. Now he gets Mystical Fire as well as Earth Power as well as Body Press. So, there's so many sets you can run on Dayansi, both physical, both special, even like going defensive in some ways. It can be your stealth rocker if you want it to be.
Body press is a crazy move.
Yeah, I know, right?
Coming off of... And before it Mega Evolves, it comes off of 150 defense, but it can at least... After Mega Evolve, still is 110.
Yeah. I'm also going to mention Inteleon here, which I think a lot of people are going to look over, because it has, like, focus energy sets because of its sniper ability. So, once it starts critting everything, it hits so hard.
I feel like Inteleon's a very overlooked mon in general.
Exactly, yeah. But he still has a lot of good priority here too. He has Scissor with the Bullet Punch, Bengora with Bullet Punch, Mamoswine with Ice Shard. I think Genghis-Khan gets like Sucker Punch.
Genghis-Khan probably good.
Yeah. I think it's a smart move to pick Scizor as well as Mega Dayansi, because Scissor's like the biggest Dayansi counter.
Yeah. It only has to worry about like Mega Scissor at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In contrast to that, his defense, well, isn't much to brag about. He has, I guess, Scizor can be defensive. He has Moltres. He has Kangaskhan, which can be a defensive mon. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, Guzzlord is, Garbodor is sort of bulky.
Guzzlord.
Yeah, sorry. They both start with a G. Anyway.
Did anyone draft Guzzlord?
Pretty sure they did, yeah. I think I covered it already, or I don't know. Anyway, his speed is really good too. Like he has Dragon Ball at 142 right there, then he has Inteleon at 120, and then Mega Dayansi at 110. Plus, like I said, he has tons of priority, so he has all the speed coverage he ever needs. I mean, he could have used like a mon at 100 maybe. I mean, after Mega Dayansi, the fastest mon is like Moltres and Kangaskhan at 90. So he has a bit of a gap there, but I think generally his speed is just really good.
Yeah, I don't think the gap is too bad. I think there's a lot of mons that are around 100, so it's kind of surprising to see something not right at 100 here, but I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. And in terms of hazards, he has 2 Stealth Rockers, a Spiker and a Toxic Spiker, in Garbodor both. And in removal, he has 2 Defoggers with Scizor and Moltres, and he has a Spinner and Serena. Plus, he has Magic Bounce on Mega Dayansi. Which I think covers.
I always forget about Magic Bounce.
I
always forget about Magic Bounce.
Yeah, and you shouldn't when you fight Jackin, but you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It'd be really bad if you tried to slow his team down and then you had sticky webs against yourself. And
yeah, you did not want to get sticky webs against this team. This team would actually more or less benefit a bit from sticky webs, I think. Especially with Mega Dayansi, that now nothing outspeeds it anymore. But
yeah.
It's not a big deal that he doesn't have it. Like I said, he has a lot of speed control anyways. So his hazards are okay. He could have used like a bit more hazards. Like his Stealth Rockers are Mamoswine and Mega Dayansi, which is good. But that means he either always has to bring rocks on Mamoswine, or he has to do rocks on Mega Dayansi, which you don't always want to do. Like you rather just click an offensive move usually, or setup.
Yeah, especially for Mega Dayansi.
But it's not bad to bring rocks on it, because offensive Stealth Rockers are good because they force a switch out, which gets you a free rocks. But yeah. But this team's other big strength is its type coverage, since it almost has every type. It has 17 out of 18 types. I think it just doesn't have ice. No, it does have ice. It just doesn't have bug, I think. Yeah. And he has no major weaknesses. Just straight. It doesn't have like one big weakness that like 4 or more of his mons are weak to. I have to look at now what would be his biggest weakness. I guess ground, with Dayansi, Garbodor, and Luxray being weak to it. But then he has Serena, Scizor, Moltres, yeah. So, yeah, his coverage is really well. So it's really good.
It's definitely a crazy offensive team. And the fact that he was able to make it so offensive without having large weaknesses, I think is going to make it hard to push through it.
Exactly, you're still gonna have to bring a lot of different type coverage against this team to really to hit everything. But as I should mention, he has a lot of 4 times weaknesses and a lot of different 4 times weaknesses, which is good. Like 4 times fire weakness for Scizor, but then a 4 times rock weakness in Moltres, a 4 times Fairy weakness in Pangoro, but then a 4 times Steel weakness in Megadancy. So you're gonna have to bring just a lot of different moves to hit everything on his team, which is gonna be really tricky to do well against him.
Yeah, and some of the mons are frail enough that I think even if they were just normally weak, it wouldn't matter too much.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, I think that about covers it. So then we can move on to number 5, Epic Pants of the Toronto Maple Nuzleafs.
Epic Pants, what a name.
No, right? Anyway, he has Galarian Darm, Rotom Wash, Galarian Weezing, Noivern, Crustle, Spiritomb, Jirachi, Superior, Blaziken, Runerigus, and Tauros. And you can even his big pool is just the enormous amount of hazards that he can bring in, and how well he removes them as well. Plus, he has perfect coverage. I should start with that. He has every single type in his team without having any major weaknesses,
which is pretty difficult to do.
That is really difficult to pull off. So major kudos for him to manage to do that. But yeah, his offense actually looks really scary. Like, it definitely centered on a few very powerful mons, in like Galarian Darm, Jirachi, and Superior, I think, are the big ones. Blaziken helps too.
I'd even argue sometimes like Galarian Weezing can pull some weight offensively.
Yeah, I suppose it can. Like, its coverage isn't bad. Like, its typing is pretty good for an offensive set, but it lacks the speed and I think just the power to really pull off offensive sets well.
Yeah, but Strange Steam can still deal some damage, and I think it gets Gunk Shot. Actually, it might not. It's still a strong one, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, the big one is definitely Galarian Darm, which you're always going to have to prep for.
Yeah, if you don't prep for Darm, it's going to hurt.
Mm-hmm. And I think the team pivots really well. Like, he has Darm U-turns, Jirachi U-turns, Blaziken U-turns now, Noivern U-turns. Plus he has then
Wash Volt Switches.
Sorry?
Well, Wash can Volt Switch.
Yeah, Wash can Volt Switch as well. So that's definitely one of the team's biggest strengths, just how well the momentum of the team. How well it switches around. And then it does have, like, it's offensive centered, but then again, so is his defense, with like Rotom Wash, Galarian Weezing, and Runerigus, I guess, plus Jirachi.
I do think it's a little weird having both Spiritomb and Runerigus, but I don't really think they share any weaknesses, so it's not that weird.
Yeah, no, they don't, because Spiritomb's only weak to Fairy, I think, and then Runerigus is a ground type, isn't he? Ground Ghost?
Yeah, it's Ghost Ground.
Yeah, exactly. So they share no weaknesses, so that's actually fine.
I was actually surprised to find out the Spiritomb was a tier 5 this season. Because it wasn't. I think it's pretty good for a tier 5.
Yeah, it's one of the better tier 5s, I think. His speed actually is not as bad as it looks from this score. Like, he has some really fast ones. He has 123 in Noivern, 113 with Superior, 110 in Tauros, and he has 100 at Jirachi and 95 with Galarian Darm, who more often is going to have his Choice Scarf on him anyway, so, you know.
It can reach 135 if he chooses to go Zen mode.
That's true. Yeah, Zen mode, that's a real set. You should not ignore about that. But just to contrast that, he also has some really slow mons. Spiritomb at 35, Runerigus at 35, Crustle at 45. Like, Crustle is one of those mons, even if it sets up a Shell Smash, it still gets outsped by a lot of mons.
Yeah, it's pretty slow, because I think... And obviously it's not the exact math, but 45 times 2 is just like 90-ish. So.
Yeah, that's not the exact math, but I mean, yeah, that's. Can Spiritomb or Runerigus set up Trick Room? I don't think so. I think only Jirachi can.
I don't think they can.
Yeah.
Oh no, Runerigus gets Trick Room.
Oh, how about that? Okay, so he might actually pull off some Trick Room shenanigans sometimes with Runerigus, maybe. Although. Like
Darm would hate that, though.
Like, his strongest mons are fast, though, so I'm not sure how much he really takes advantage of that. But he could go like Bandit, Darm with low speed in the Trick Room, which is scary.
Can be.
Yeah. Alright, but then again, his hazard control is also really good. He has 1 spiker, 2 toxic spikers, and 3 stealth rockers. So he has all the hazards but webs. Plus a lot of options in terms of hazard. Like, there's a lot of different monsters that set up rocks. Like Jirachi, Runerigas, and Crossel can all set up rocks, which is different. And then he has some spike and toxic spike setups too. And he has 5 whole defoggers, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's if you want to set hazards, it's almost not even worth it because in most teams it runs, it'll at least have 1 Mon brat that has the ability to use defog.
Yeah, but I think the point of this is because his team pivots around so much, you never want to have hazards on your
hazards
team
at all.
Yeah,
especially since it's one of its main offensive threats. Darm is weak to rocks.
Exactly. Like momentum-based teams do not like hazards, so I think that's the main goal of having so many. Like yes, Rotom Wash, Weezing, Noivern, plus as well Superior, and I think Blaziken, or who's the 5th here? I don't know, Spiritomb and Reese maybe, but I know he has 5. So yeah. Although setting up hazards is a good idea too because he has Superior. Like switching in Superior on a defog is nasty.
Oh yeah, especially with the contrary that
exactly. So it boosts his evasion. So then like that's a set that works well, but it's also really annoying. So if you go like sub glare, then after you get an evasion boost, that's so hard to get past.
It's really annoying.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that covers it. So I mean, you have a very centric offense and a very centric defense, but then he has so much momentum and all of his bases are covered really well. Just perfect type coverage with really good hazard control as well. So yeah, pretty good team.
Yeah.
Moving on to our number 4 spot, which is Bowser, who also helped on these power rankings, by the way. But just in case anyone was wondering, I ranked him, so he didn't do this one himself.
Yeah, anyone who worked on power rankings didn't rank themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, his team is Tapu Koko, Scolipede, Shaman, Vaporeon, Miltank, Turtonator, his mascot, Landorus, Tyrion, Mega Medicham, Capparaja, Musharna, and Cryogonal. And yeah, this team is also very offensive and very momentum based, I think. Especially with Coco at the helm, you know?
Yeah. Lando T, especially with Intimidate as well.
Yeah. Coco plus Lando, they're going to be U-turning, Volt switching in and out all the time, and getting in their big threats like Mega Medicham right there.
Mega Medicham is a beast.
Yeah, just that trio, Coco, Lando, and Mega Medicham are gonna bring is most of his damage right there. That's the big threat that he has. Those 3 months. And then in terms of defense, he has Shaman and Vaporeon as well as Miltank, and I guess the elephant Capparaja, which is decent.
What is Turtonator's defensive stats? Oh, it's got actually really good physical defense.
Oh yeah, like Turtonator can switch into something every now and then. I mean, I feel like with a logo like that, his main goal is going to be to click Shell Smash, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Even Spinner. I think it can spin now.
Yeah, it can spin now. But yeah, but his speed is also really crazy. He has Coco at 130. He has then Scolipede at 112 plus the speed boost. Then he has Cryogonal at 105, which is actually much faster than a lot of people think it is. And then he has Medicham and Shaman and Miltank at 100.
Miltank is 100. I don't think I ever realized that.
Yeah, again, there's monsters like Miltank and Tentacruel, which are actually really fast, but they're not often run fast, you know? But they can be. Yeah, and then he has Lando T at 91. Especially with the speed boost too, plus, I mean, Shaman can Tailwind, I guess, but speed boosting plus just the different types of speed tiers is scary.
Yeah, I think that wanting to outspeed the team is going to be difficult, especially if Scolipede just starts getting tons of speed boosts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, its hazard control is pretty well too. He has 3 stealth rockers plus a spiker and a toxic spikers, and then he has 3 defoggers and 2 spinners. So especially on the removal, he does really well. Like Cryogonal, although Cryogonal can both spin and defog, so he counters both. Yeah. Sorry?
I was just saying, yeah, it gets spin and defog, which I think most of the time it's probably spinning over defogging, but if they have a lot of ghosts, maybe you bring defog over that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's arguments for both. I mean, then he has Turtonator, which can spin too, and he has Coco and Lando, which can defog. So I think all of his remover mons are at least really good at what they do. Except for maybe Turtonator, you can argue, but it's there.
I don't think I see Coco running defog that often, especially since now it gets rid of its terrain. I don't think a whole lot of its mons rely on that terrain.
I mean, you still can. Like, Coco just usually only needs a few like coverage moves, and then it just switches in and out, and then so it can definitely run defog as an extra move. Like moves like defog or taunt or substitute or something like that. Those are often moves that you can actually get away with Coco because it doesn't need all of its different coverage that much, as some other mons do.
Yeah.
And in terms of type coverage, he did okay. There's 15 out of 18 types, and he has 4 mons weak to fire, which is covered really well with Vaporeon as well as Thick Fat Miltank, and Turtonator with the quad resist.
Yeah, probably only for like physical fire attacks though.
I mean, just a quad resist. He can switch into a flamethrower, you know.
He can switch into it. Yeah. He unfortunately doesn't get any like recovery though for how defensive it is.
Yeah, but it does have a Wish Bash in Vaporeon, so you know there's definitely some tricks you can do there.
Yeah.
All right, I think that covers this one. Then we'll move on to Decker of the Alabama Alakazams at number 3.
I really like saying that team name.
Alabama Alakazams. Yeah, it flows out of your mouth.
Really nice.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, his team is Mega Venusaur, Mandibuzz, Blastoise, Ribombee, Dusclops, Xatu, Infernape, Raikou, Bronzong, Porygon Z, and Rhyperior. And here we see another really defensive team that managed to score really well.
Mega Venusaur is a defensive beast.
Yeah, and the fact that he cored it with Mandibuzz, I think, is amazing because those two cover each other's weaknesses almost perfectly.
They cover each other pretty well. And they're both pretty bulky.
Yeah. I've ranked Decker's team a few times before in like different seasons or different competitions, like the off season, and he almost always scores pretty well. Like he does, he always brings like a well-rounded team that scores just well in all these categories. So again, he scored like top 3. So good on you, Decker. His defensive core mainly consists of Mega Venusaur, Mandibuzz, but then he also has Bronzong, Blastoise, and even Dusclops right there.
Which Dusclops is an interesting mon for sure.
I mean, it's honestly just as good as Dusknoir most of the time. It has a bit better bulk, but then it doesn't have like leftovers or something like that. So they're pretty interchangeable in my opinion.
I think, unfortunately, Dusclops is a tier higher than Dusknoir.
Oh yeah, it's actually Dusclops actually tier 4, whereas Dusknoir is tier 5, I think. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, they're both fine, I'd say.
They're both good for what they do.
His offense then consists of Infernape, Raikou, and I suppose Porygon Z and Rhyperior. Which are Raikou and Infernape, I think, make a really good Volturn core. Like both of them are very powerful mons that force a lot of switches. So to get the momentum in with Volt switches and U-turn is really nice.
Can Mandibuzz U-turn?
Mandibuzz can also U-turn, yeah.
Yeah. So it's got good momentum.
Mm-hmm. Plus, Rhyperior is really strong. It just, slow, has a lot of weaknesses. But if you can get it in on the right mons because of your Volturn, because of your momentum, that it definitely takes some mons away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. His speed tier is pretty good too. He has Ribombee at 124, then he has Raikou at 115, and Infernape at 108. Just that the rest of his mons are all pretty slow. Like after that, the fastest mon is like Xatu at 95. But
yeah, and then Dusclops, Bronzong, and Rhyperior are probably what brought the score down.
Exactly, a lot. Like, Dusclops at 20, Bronzong at 33. So, but he does have webs, which helps a lot here.
He does have webs, and then he does have access to Trick Room if he really wanted to use that.
Yeah, exactly. Bronzong sets up Trick Room really well for the Rhyperior to come in. Like Rhyperior in the Trick Room is a monster. You did not want to face that. Yeah. His hazard control is decent. He has 3 stealth rockers, 1 Weber, 1 sticky Weber in Rabombi, and then he has 3 defoggers, a rapid spinner, and he has magic bounce on Zatu.
So his removal is pretty good.
Yeah, his removal is especially good. Like the defoggers, like Mandibus is a great defogger, one of the best. I'd say. Like Mandibus and Zapdos are probably the best. Yeah. And the spinner still Blastoise can still spin pretty well. But Blastoise is a weird mon to prepare for this season because it also gets Shell Smash. It's allowed Shell Smash.
Yeah, so you can run a defensive Blastoise or an offensive one, and if you don't prep for Shell Smash Blastoise, you could get blown back really easily.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely I like the versatility here in that. His coverage is also really good. He has 16 out of 18 types and no major weaknesses.
Which is good for a bulky team.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the one weakness I could mention is maybe like Mold Breaker Earthquakes, because Bronzong doesn't cover that. Or if he brings Heat-Proof Bronzong, then he does have 4 months weak to ground, I suppose. But, you know, normally on any like non-Mold Breaker or non-1000 Arrows ground moves, Bronzong is one of the best counters to them. Plus he has Venusaur too.
Yeah. So it's just a few matchups that it'd be a problem, but for the most part, it's pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, really nice team decker, really defensively and really well-rounded overall in terms of both hazards and coverage. And with that, we move on to number 2, which is Bounty Hunter of the Boston Bullet Punch. And he has Tapu Lele, Gliscor, Trepion, Cloyster, Magneton, Regigigas, Megagalate, Sceptile, Latias, Frostmoth, and Colossal. And again, a defensive team.
It's crazy how all the defensive teams are near the top here.
Yeah. I think with Cynthia, I covered only one defensive team, but now we have like almost 3 in a row.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that when you're playing defensively, you can typically get your hazard and coverage score up so high.
Mm-hmm.
Because you focus on those a lot when you're just pouring tons of bulk into the team.
Yeah. So his defensive core mainly consists of Gliscor, Cloyster, Latias, Colossal, and I guess Regigigas, if you want to count that.
Cloyster is a really weird defensive mon.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I think it's either a Shell Smash set, but again, it can just be like a Spike set or Rapid Spinning set, which is fine on Cloyster. Like, his defense is really high.
130 defense, I believe.
Yeah. Does Cloyster get Body Press this season?
I don't think they did that.
Imagine, though.
Yeah, it didn't get it. That's probably for the best.
But then again, you shouldn't overlook his
180 defense. My bad.
180, jeez.
That's crazy.
But yeah, you shouldn't overlook this team offense, especially with all of his Psychic Mons with the Psychic Terrain. Like Lele, Galate, Megagalate, and Latias in the Psychic Terrain is a bit nuts. That's just a bit silly, you know?
I just think it's a little funny. Like, we haven't got type coverage yet, but I just think it's funny. He has so many Psychic offensive things, and he has 4 Mons weak to fight.
Yeah, okay. We didn't get to that, but yeah, his biggest weakness is actually is fighting. It's not anything that Psychic's weakness. His biggest weakness is fighting with Colossal, Regigigas, Magneton, and Cloyster being weak to them.
So I think the Psychic Terrain boosted Psychics will make that a non-factor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his speed is decent as well. Like, he has Sceptile at 120, plus it gets an easy Unburden boost thanks to Psychic Terrain. And after that, he has Megalate at 110 and Latias at 110. So all of it, like his main offensive trio of like, I mean, Tapu Lele includes that too. But like his biggest offensive mons are also really fast, which helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, especially like Sceptile after Unburden. I think that's just the fastest mon you can get, right? That's even faster than a Hawlucha Unburden boosted.
Yeah, it's also probably faster than... Yeah, it's obviously faster than a Cloyster after Shell Smash.
Yeah. Like,
both times, too.
You can't revenge that with a Scarfer or anything, because it's just going to beat any Scarfers you try. So you need either priority or you need to take a hit from it.
So definitely, even though some of the speed is a little lower, it can make up for it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, some of this team's big strength is the hazard control right here. That's where he scored the highest. He has 2 spikers, 2 toxic spikers, 2 stealth rockers, and then he has 3 defoggers and 2 rapid spinners. So if he just had webs, he would have had everything. He has almost all of his bases covered.
Which this team would like webs.
This team would enjoy webs, that's true. Like, that could have helped, but just the fact that he also has so much good control in getting rid of hazards. Like, Ladias is a really good defogger, then he has Gliscor, which is a really good defogger. Plus, Colossal can spin, Cloister can spin, he has this hazard control is one of this team it's the biggest strength of this team, straight up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, as you mentioned, the type coverage, he has 17 out of 18 types, and his biggest weakness is fighting, weirdly enough, and that's it. Like, even though his 3 psychic mons, they share a ghost weakness, he has Drapion and he has Regigigas right there to cover those, which is okay, but it's only 3 mons weak to it, which isn't the worst deal in the world,
Yeah, I think especially because it's not like they insta lose to ghosts. I think that like you said, Drapion can hit him really hard.
Yeah, not to mention Drapion can pursuit trap any nasty ghost that the team doesn't want to deal with. Like, if there's a Gengar or something, or like a Scarf Chandelure that the team has trouble with, Drapion can come in, pursuit trap it, done. No more problem.
Yeah, 'cause we do allow pursuit still.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's weird that we have this mix of DLC moves and the old moves.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the tier. It's easy in the way that we can always check it with the tier, like the National Dex DLC Legacy tier. So there's never, if you ever wonder, is this allowed or not, just validate it, just check it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, really good team, I think. Like, very good defense, but still some very powerful offense with the Psychic Terrain, which is the team's biggest strength. Like, we're playing around the Psychic Terrain of Tapu Lele. I'm betting Tapu Lele is going to be the mon he brings the most out of every mon here. Because his entire team seems to be built around it.
Just his team loves Psychic Terrain.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we move on to our number 1, which is, I think you would have guessed it by now, but Cynthia. Scored number 1 of the Germany Girafferics. Okay, so Cynthia's team is Heatran, Mega Beedrill, Meloetta, Mienshao, Eldegoss, Marowak, Florges, Dragonite, Vikavolt, Greninja, and Mismagius. And Cynthia scored well on almost every single category. And just really well, just highly above average. Which is a crazy thing. Before anybody goes by us, again, I was the one who scored Cynthia, and I did this before we even knew like who was gonna do the video or whatever. So
I think this is one of the first teams you scored, wasn't
exactly, yeah. It's weirdly enough, and it just, we said that defensive teams tend to score high because they can cover all their bases well, but then in a weird sense, it's even more impressive that a hyper offensive team like this, because this is as hyper offensive as you can get almost, still scored high in categories like hazards and type coverage. That you don't see this very often.
You don't.
Yeah, so the offense here of Mega Beedrill, Mienshao, but then also having Dragonite, Vikavolt, Greninja, Meloetta, Mismagius in the back, plus Heatran hits really hard as well. There's so much offensive threat right here, and it's really hard to cover for because Mega Beedrill is going to U-turn in and out, Greninja is going to U-turn in and out, Vikavolt is going to Volt Switch in and out, Mienshao is going to U-turn in and out. You can't.
With Regenerator.
Yeah, plus Regenerator, Eldegoss,
I mean, Mienshao gets U-turn and Regenerator.
Exactly, yes, 2 Regenerator. I wouldn't really call it a regenerating core because neither of these mons are that defensive, but still, he has 2 regenerating mons that also just like to switch in and out. You constantly going to be on the defensive against this team. And this team does a really good job in breaking down that defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in contrast to that, his defensive mons are at best Heatran and maybe Dragonite and Florges, I guess. I mean,
He at least has a mon that uses Wish.
Mm-hmm. Which again helps with the momentum, with the switching around as much as Cynthia does. But then it's speed. I gotta say, this is maybe one of the best speed tiers that I've seen in a while. It is Mega Beedrill at 145, then it's Greninja at 122, and then he has 2 Mons at 105. Which seem like big jumps, but that's actually kind of exactly where you want to be. Like at the top curve of Mega Beedrill, which only gets outsped by Mons like Mega Alakazam, and Mons like, I think, Excelgor and Electrode, right?
Yeah.
But I mean,
there's not a whole lot of things up there.
Exactly. This is other than Mega Alakazam, and Ninjask, I guess. Other than those, it outspeeds everything. Which is at the very top. Like, it even outspeeds mons like Zorora and Dragapult, which is crazy.
It can also outspeed a decent amount of Scarfers, too.
Yeah. Like, it outspeeds, I think, base 80 speed Scarfers and below.
Which that's good.
Yeah. And from there you go to 122, which outspeeds still a lot of mons. And then you have 105, which outspeeds all the base 100 and below, you know? So it's... Those jumps are actually almost exactly where you want to be. You could have used like one mon, maybe like 110 or 115 to really smooth over that jump a little bit, but honestly, these speed tiers are kind of where you want to be. Plus, he still has priority amongst like Dragonite and Greninja, and does Miancho get fake out, right?
I don't know if Miancho does, but I want to believe it does.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot like some of the other things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does get fake out.
But yeah. But what you don't see often in a team as offensive as this is just how good its hazard control is. He has 2 Stealth Rockers, 1 Spiker, 2 Toxic Spikers, and a Sticky Web. He has access to every single hazard.
I'm not even sure if this team needs a Webber, but if it has webs down and you can't get rid of them, you are not outspeeding anything.
I mean, the thing is, with webs, it makes it so that not even a Scarfer can start revenge killing you, you know? Like, Mega Beedrill literally outspeeds every single mon with webs up. Except for Ninjask, sorry.
oh yeah, I'll bring out my Ninjask to revenge kill this Beedrill.
Yeah. Yeah, but then to remove it, it still has 3 Defoggers and a Rapid Spinner and Eldegoth. So it just has all of its bases covered right here.
Which Eldegoth isn't a bad spinner, because since it does have Regenerator, it can keep coming in to spin.
I mean, I don't like Eldegoth because it has bad coverage, but I mean, in a team like this where you're constantly switching around, it's fine. It just Rapid Spins, U-turns out, and then you go into your more offensive mons, you know? So I don't think its lack of coverage hurts this team all that much.
Yeah, because it's not here to stick around and deal damage.
Yeah, but speaking of type coverage, it has 16 out of 18 types and no major weaknesses. Which again, is for a team as offensive as this, the fact that it made sure to still cover all of its different types this well is again just another plus. Like, you look at his weaknesses, it has maybe a bit of an ice weakness because of Dragonite, but not even that, because he has Heatran and Greninja right there. He has maybe a rock weakness, you could say, because he has like 3 months weak to it, but again, he has Miancho, he has Marowak. He just does not have any big weaknesses at all, I'd say.
Even Dragonite is kind of weird because it has, what is its ability called?
Multi-scale, right?
Multi-scale, yeah.
Man, which is also better now with the boots. You can just switch it in safely even with rocks up and have the multi-scale already.
And it especially loves the fact that it can be brought in through U-turns and volt switches.
Yeah. I mean, you can say, like, people can have different preferences in what they think consists of a powerful team, but just based on statistics alone, this is the best team in C Division. This was how well it scored in almost everything.
I remember that before the draft had started, Cynthia told me that she wanted to make a team around Mega Beedrill because it's one of her favorite megas, and she knew how to build around it. And I think this shows.
I mean, going hyper offense is definitely the way to go with Mega Beedrill. I mean, it can be, but you can go make a balance here with Mega Beedrill too. But a hyper offensive team really highlights it, because that means that you can constantly just go on the offensive with Beedrill. You can just U-turn in and out.
I want to see at least one good Fell Stinger play.
Yeah, I think that's definitely. I think you're gonna see it.
I really hope I get to see it.
And so yeah, with that, that's the power ranking.
Yeah.
You can agree, you can disagree. I don't really care. This is what we came up with. So yeah, you have anything else to say, KaiWhai, to everybody?
Well, thank you for watching. I'll say that. It's probably been a long 2 hours.
I think we went through the second half a lot faster than the first half, but well.
It's been about an hour.
Oh really? Huh. So yeah, thank you all for being in C Division. Good luck to everybody. I said this before, but I don't think any of your teams are bad. I think you all have a chance. Just prep well, play well, and we're gonna see how accurate this list ends up getting once we have all the results out. But it's looking like a very tight season.
Yeah,
definitely
for sure.
Okay. Then with that, thank you everybody, and good luck.